Hello, everybody. Welcome back. It's Friday, June the 9th. So, I read a couple articles in The Spectator, and I thought I would share this one with you. It's Harry's Crusade, the Prince versus the Press. Self-pity is one hell of a drug. On Tuesday, a day late, Prince Harry appeared in the High Court to give evidence against the Mirror. The only testimony he was willing to provide, however, was his familiar gloop of the pain he suffered growing up rich, famous, and royal. He can't help himself, poor boy. We should probably stop indulging him, but we won't, though. In a 49-page witness statement, the Duke of Sussex tried once again to make peace with himself by blaming the press for everything. You start off as a blank canvas while they work out what kind of person you are and what kind of problems and temptations you might have, he declared. I ended up feeling as though I was playing up to a lot of headlines and stereotypes and that they wanted to pin on me, mainly because I thought that if they are printing this rubbish about me and people were believing it, well, I may as well do the crime. No, just because somebody's writing something about you, if it's not true, doesn't mean you go out and do those things just because people are writing them, Harry. How childish is that? It's not my fault, Your Honor. The media made it this way. Harry admits to suffering from paranoia. It's possible he thought that he must be the one on trial. After all, on the same day across the pond, an American federal court was considering whether his visa application should be made public, given that he has admitted to taking drugs. And let me just tell you, the Heritage Group, I'll go ahead and give you an update on that. So Homeland Security, or DHS, the judge said in federal court that they have until June 13th to decide whether or not they want to turn over and make public the application for Harry's visa. Then if they don't respond or decide not to do it by that date, then Judge Nichols will rule whether or not it should be revealed. So that's what's going on with that case. Now, back to the article. Harry seemed at times shockingly uninformed about the evidence he submitted to court. What's more likely is that his egotism, Harry has come to regard as kind of publicity, even an appearance in civil court case, into phone hacking as a therapeutic exercise. Another chance to talk through his demons and air out his many grievances. Well, it doesn't work, of course, because the reason Harry needs so much therapy is because all of the publicity he's received. He's hooked on psychoanalysts call a negative reinforcing loop. What's certain is Harry is being terribly advised. His legal team appear to be taking him for a royal ride. Are they using him, Elton and some of the others, and Meghan, just to go out and fight the evil press and do all these things so that it'll be his money that's lost, thinking that he's got more power and status because he's a prince? He is enlisted as just the latest star character in a show laid on by media lawyers who for the past 10 years have been feasting on staggering amounts of money from hacking fees. The tabloids have tended to pay up rather than go to court, writing huge checks to hundreds of celebrities and their hanger owners. The Sun alone has been paying out an average of £100 million a year for the past 10 years. 85% of the money has gone to the lawyers, said one senior source at News UK. That would mean 850 of Murdoch's millions have gone to the lawyers. To keep the money pouring in, the law firms need to recruit claimants to say that they were hacked, shake the tabloid's cage, and they'll pay up. In this case, however, the newspaper group has not settled. The matter has gone to court, and a legal trial demands a higher standard of evidence from the complainant. It's far from clear that Harry is passing the test. Under cross-examination from the Mirror's lawyer, Andrew Green, KC, he seemed at times shockingly uninformed about the evidence he himself submitted to the court. Harry is used to telling his truth to biteable journalists such as Tom Bradby on ITV or Anderson Cooper on CNN when challenged about the more difficult matter of the truth by leading barrister. His recollections fell apart. Yeah, I didn't think he did well at all. From reading all of the statements in court, I thought he was ill-informed and thought that just by getting to court, when he would address the judge and say, "I don't know, you'll have to ask the journalist," or "I don't know, you'll have to ask my law team," that and he said that he had prepared the statement that was submitted to the attorney, said he wrote it himself. Well, does he not see and realize that a case can't be brought forth just on speculation, innuendos, that there needs to be some sort of evidence? Consider, for instance, the story of Harry breaking his thumb playing footer at school, which the Mirror responded on the 11th of November 2000. In his witness statement, Harry said that the level of detail in the report is just surprising, suggesting that the paper must have intercepted his private communications. What other explanation could there be? Mr. Green then asked Harry if he had ever expressed any concerns to the Press Association, a news agency, about the injury to his thumb. "I have not," replied Harry, adding that he was unaware of the PA and had reported the story first. Mr. Green also asked if he had complained to other papers who had reported the Thumbgate story, including the Edinburgh Evening News. Harry, "No, I have not, because it's not systematic within the Edinburgh Evening News. I believe unlawful information gathering." Why did he think that? He later admitted he didn't even know that there was an Edinburgh Evening News. So he accuses one paper of coming out with the story, the Mirror in these cases, and come to find out that there's other papers. So just because he didn't do his due diligence and look to see that other papers had reported this, and why then did not his legal team not look and find all of these many cases where it had already been written about a day or even 2 days before on these various instances that he's referring to? Or take the birthday party, which the Mirror reported on the 16th of September 2002, under the headline, "New Eaton Trifles for Harry." In his statement, Harry admitted that he had already been obliged to describe his birthday celebrations in an interview, which had been repeated in this article. Although I'm not sure how much of it was reported here, inevitably, the claim collapsed under the slightest scrutiny when Mr. Green put it to Harry that he was the source of the information reported in the Mirror. He flubbed. I see the similarities, of course," he said, before adding defensively that the timing was just suspicious. Poor Harry. He's now discovered that he feels in his true vocation to be chief antagonist of the vile British press. I know, because he's going on his feelings and he's thinking about his mother and still blames them for what happened, and feels like that he had to leave Britain because of the British press, because he couldn't stop them from writing about Meghan. But you can't stop the press writing about somebody with freedom of speech when they're a public figure, and in this case, a member of the royal family. It also pointed out to Harry that three-line story in the Mirror about him becoming a parade commander at Eton Cadets was not in fact obtained through skullduggery, as he had claimed, but had been announced in a palace press release the day before. Harry fell back on the same word, suspicious. What is more rum is that he is convinced, or has been persuaded, that such a story is a good example of possible hacking. I just don't understand Harry's legal team. Seems like that they would have checked on all these articles to see if Mirror Group News papers had actually written these, or if anybody else had written them too. What is he paying his law team for? I don't understand why the solicitors didn't do all this research and provide it to the barrister, and then Harry's acting as if just because he brought it to court that it's up to the judge and up to his law team to do this, but he doesn't have the information, and he's just going in like he's just starting the case. On his first day in court, Harry told Mr. Green there's a difference between public interest and what interests the public. It is a line he also used in his witness statement because he thinks it's clever. Yet, he became a blank canvas again when asked what he thought might constitute a public interest story. "I'm not sure, other than speculating," he said. "A life-threatening injury. I'm sure there are others. He's clearly giving the matter a lot of thought. None of this to say that the Mirror didn't snoop on Harry's calls. The paper had admitted and apologized for hacking on its front page. It had paid $100 million in settlements and legal fees, but the prince was not sent in to court with any proof, just a catalog of suspicions and petty grievances. I was often teased as a result of this article, he said, on the Thumb story. I was a bit of a laughingstock, he said, in relation to the Mirror's report that he had been caught granular fever or kissing disease, or what we call mononucleosis. And it does make you very ill, and you have to rest a lot, and can last like 6 to 12 weeks. I'm extremely worried that I was going to be expelled, he said about the story, and he was using drugs while a pupil at Eton. Which brings us to the real story behind the stories, the complaints of the Duke of Sussex and other celebrities against various newspapers. Come here, sweetie. Here, sit with our mama. Sorry, let me go back. The complaints of the Duke of Sussex and other celebrities against the various newspaper groups aren't about phone hacking per se. They're more about making very well-paid lawyers even richer and enabling angry, famous people to sue media companies to smithereens to placate their rage while convincing themselves that they are making the world a better place. In fact, the slurbs are relitigating the past. There is no allegation of newspaper hacking after 2011. Isn't this well over the 6 years that the court allows to go back and prosecute? If we're outside of those 6 years, I don't understand why they're hearing any of those stories in the first place. Harry is no longer a working royal. His attempts with his wife to branch into the entertainment industry through Netflix shows and books have not made him more popular, to put it mildly, but he has now discovered what he feels is his true vocation, to be the chief antagonist of the vile British press. Earlier this year, promoting the book on ITV, he said that he was moving the mission of changing the media landscape in the UK from personal to my life's work. And if you look and compare the things that he said in the interview to Anderson Cooper, to Tom Bradby, to Michael Strahan, and then go back and read the book Spare, you'll see that a lot of the questions that he answered in court, he had the wrong years, the wrong timelines, and why didn't the Mr. Green and his team bring that up and compare those in the book Spare, and be able to say, well, and I guess it was done in a few instances, but, about when he actually obtained a telephone and stuff, but even what he had said about his mother's butler, Mr. Burrell, and then what he said in the book Spare. So in one case he wanted to meet with him, in another case he was, not willing to meet with him. But when he got his phone, when he actually did get his phone, when he went to Eton and not when he was at the primary boarding school, there were just all these different instances about even going back to his timeline of when he started dating Chelsea, and when he went to visit or meet her father, he had the years wrong. So if he wasn't sure, why didn't he just look back at what he wrote in his book instead of just rely on his memory? This goes to show that memory fades, and after a certain number of years, that your recall is not as good as it is if it's more recent recall. So Harry is no longer that working royal. All right, let's go on. His father, he revealed, had warned him that this was a suicide mission. But brave, self-liberated Harry is not afraid. Having spent tens of years in the army, he added, I learned a set of values. Wow, if you learned that set of values, you certainly didn't show it when you became a traitor and you walked away from everything that you had grown up, everybody that you had served, walking away from the army and letting your family down, the monarchy, and not doing your work for your grandmother, the queen, and causing her all of these ill feelings and concerns when she was actually, living with cancer and about to die, and not accepting her visit for a summer visit that would have been your last chance to see her while she was alive at Sandringham. Anyway, I've seen behind the curtain. What he has perhaps not seen is that he has arrived on the battlefield 15 years too late. The noose of the world has closed. The guilty have been punished. There's something tragicomic around Prince Harry's crusade. It's Don Quixote meets fear and loathing in Montecito. He keeps tilting at the tabloids, cheered on by sycophantic aides who puff up his vanity, and has aided his notions of honor, duty, and love. But everybody else can see the soldier Duke is deluded. He is definitely deluded and delusional in all of his thinking. And when you hear him in interviews, it's just obvious that he doesn't really know what he's talking about. Now, Harry, being a soldier, would have been trained in the art of interrogation. So while this may be his first time being cross-examined by the prosecution in this civil trial, he would have definitely had military training that would have worked to his advantage in trying to answer these questions. But what just befuddles the mind is when he would say he doesn't know, doesn't recall, or didn't realize that these articles had been written prior to them appearing in the Mirror. And it just blows the mind. That's where I think he has these grandiose ideas of who he is. Even asking, when they asked in the beginning how they should refer to him, and he says, Your Royal Highness, Prince Harry. And when he's not supposed to be using the HRH title. And if he's coming in, well, he didn't come in as a private citizen. He also said the Duke of Sussex in his statement that he provided to his barristers that were used in court. The public acknowledges the trauma Harry suffered as a child, of course. People sympathize with the griefs he feels with his mother, but as Harry and his wife keep fishing for empathy in ever more deranged ways, that pity turns to revulsion. After Harry and Meghan attended an award ceremony together in New York last month, for instance, an unnamed spokesman for the couple issued a headline-grabbing statement claiming that, on leaving the event, they had been involved in a near-catastrophic car chase with the press for 2 hours. Anybody who had ever driven through Manhattan instantly spotted the hyperbole. Relentless pursuit is simply not possible in the center of that city. Why did the spokesman conspiracy try to evoke the memory of Diana's death? And I know, too, from being in New York many times and going there for business, that it's just impossible. It's gridlock traffic. It's locked down. Sometimes you can get out and walk to your destination and get there faster than you can in a taxi or a private car. It's often the people's most obsessed with fake news who talk the most rubbish. 2 years ago, Prince Harry accepted a job. What's that on my lap? Accepted a job with the Aspen Institute as a commissioner of information disorder. Now, that's a left-leaning group, where the Heritage Group is a right-leaning group. They're more conservative. So he's trying to go in where he says our First Amendment and freedom of speech is bonkers. So a syndrome from which he seems to be suffering acutely. His hatred of the press is pathological. In his memoir, Spare, he calls journalists ghouls and jackals. Centuries ago, royal men and women were considered divine, he writes, with a telling resentment. Now we're insects. What fun to pluck their wings. Blinded by animus, Harry cannot see the great tabloid supremacy has always been something of a myth. People have never been so gullible as to believe everything they read. And in the press barons, the Murdochs, the Maxwells, the Rothermeres did once wield a power so great as to make them almost unaccountable. That time has long been over. That sort of influence now rests with the tech chiefs. Musk, Zuckerberg, Bezos, and company, and even they don't know what to do with it. Harry is telling himself, or has been told, that he is bringing newspapers to heel. In truth, the press is already on its knees. The Sun now sells about 700,000, a fraction of it sells in its heyday. The Daily Mirror circulation is vanishing too. Gallant Harry didn't slay the giants. The internet did. So you can find everything online. Meghan seems to be plowing her own media furrow once more. She filed a trademark for the TIC 2.0 for a possible reboot. Still hasn't happened, of the lifestyle blog she wrote before she met her prince. And it was told, and there were rumors out there allegedly, that she didn't even write it, that she paid somebody else to run the blog for. And I think she earned about $70,000 a year. Probably most of it went to the person who allegedly was writing it. Maybe Harry and Meghan are learning something a lot of married couples understand. Working together is hard when it's all me, me, me. And I do find it, that was written by Freddie Gray at The Spectator, and I do find it interesting that Meghan hasn't been there to support Harry. But whether or not they're together, I do think that if they are, not living together, that that the only way that Harry would let him out of this is to set her up so that she would be able to make her own money if they did divorce. And I think that's why she's staying out of it. She's working with the William Morris agency, who demand that you take their advice, not just suggest, but they demand that if they're going to be your agent, that you're going to listen to them, and that she's been advised, allegedly, that she needs to stay out of any press that's negative. And we know they probably had a fit when all that happened in New York, but blame your client, because she's the one who let the Paps know and allegedly had given them information that if they followed her after, that she would give them pictures as they were going in and out to dinner. But all of that doesn't come out, does it? That should all be reported on too. And here you should realize that while you're working to keep your wife's negativity out of the papers, she's doing everything she can to promote herself. And like Meghan herself, it always says, it doesn't matter whether it's good publicity or negative publicity. It's all still publicity and keeps you in the headlines. So that's what you're married to, Harry. And I think that you're going to go on. You've still got 5 other cases. And I hope that the Heritage Group does win. And here in America, we do have access through freedom of information to be able to see if you did obtain, which I think you have the O2 visa, which would allow you in like someone who has extraordinary means. And that allows you to get some security that we, the taxpayers, pay for through our Homeland Security. But I know that you still want that IPP status, and that in doing so, not only does it give you free security, which would save you a lot of the money that you and Meghan have to pay out for security now, but also the fact that it would give you diplomatic immunity, and that you could commit laws in our country and not be prosecuted for them. So tell me what you think in the comments. I'd love to hear what your thoughts are. Sorry, this was a long article, but I thought it was very good, so I wanted to share it with you. And then I thought it kind of summed up the trials. I'd pulled information on those. I may do a later video, but I hope you're all well. Thank you for tuning in. And if these articles are too long or you don't enjoy those, let me know that in the comments as well. Thank you so much, and have a great day and a great weekend. I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye, everyone. Stay blessed.